Jesus doesn't come to like interrupt your life. He actually comes to disrupt it in the best way possible. Jesus didn't come to interrupt the system of the law. He came to fulfill it, disrupt it, changing our access to God forever.
There's so many more Levi's, right? There's so many more tax collectors. There's so many more people who don't think they're close to God, that God is pursuing.
Now we have 24 attacks after more than 2 years. We had multiple paint attacks, 2 times destroyed the windows, acid 2 times. It is crazy, and it's always the same reason. We are...
Well, here we are, guys. We're back.
Yes.
We're back,
Yes.
and we're sponsored by denim.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just literally
the
in
color
general.
denim.
Just denim. I changed my shirt. I was wearing that.
Pretty much the same thing,
Literally had the same.
This was not intentional. It was a total
but it looks
mistake.
great.
But dude, that's spirit sync, bro. We're in sync. Come on, man. That's how that works.
It
out.
does look good on you. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Well, okay, so we actually have a special guest with us today.
Yeah, we do.
I'm gonna kick it to Chad
Yeah.
to introduce our guest with us. So.
Yes. Well, if you guys have ever heard us talk about Zeal Church over in Leipzig, we've gotten to be such good friends with their team, and you've heard us talk about them. We've shared clips from them, and then what a joy it is today. We have René Wagner,
Yeah,
as we
man.
would say. Come on.
Let's go.
René Wagner is in
Yes.
German. So, man, welcome. So good to have you.
Thank you so much. Such a privilege to be here.
Yeah, honored to have you here with us
And
in the room.
you said Leipzig. I just want to point out, not Leipzig, Indiana, Leipzig, Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
I didn't know there was a
yeah.
Leipzig, Indiana.
No, there's not.
there one?
I just wanted to clarify.
that's a great clarification.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually in Dresden as well,
Yep.
and the Ore Mountains, or as
Yes.
you guys would say, you say it better than me.
Erzgebirge.
There it is. Yeah.
Bro, I saw the
That's a
spelling
tough
of
word.
that.
It's a tough
How do
word.
you say it?
Erzgebirge.
Augsburger.
Oh, that was
Awful.
pretty close.
No,
pretty
it
close.
was
No,
bad.
it was pretty close.
Okay.
Better than Chad. I'm just kidding.
And I just want to point out that I commented on before we started rolling
Yeah.
Renee's jacket there. It's a Carhartt jacket.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
you got it at a
Outlet.
an outlet in Germany,
Oh,
which
yep.
I didn't even know. I didn't know Carhartt existed in
Yes.
Germany. I didn't know outlets existed in Germany. And
Yeah,
you're
we're
wearing
not
Bass-
living in caves.
Did you?
point.
Where'd the Bass Pro hat come from?
And that's from Bass Pro here.
So no Bass Pros in Germany.
No,
Okay.
no,
Well, the last
no.
time
I
you
take
were-
all my German friends to Bass Pro because that's America, right?
100%.
Well, last time he was here,
America's
he went over to Cabela's over in
Yeah,
Noblesville.
yeah.
He made sure
That's where I got it.
to stock up. There it is.
Oh,
There it
that's
is.
so
Yeah.
good, man. Well,
Yeah.
dude, we are so glad you're here, man.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you.
So Renee and I met. What year was it? It
2018.
was 2018.
Yeah, 2018.
Through our mutual friend Sean Morgan.
Yes.
Renee came over, and I think it was like a last minute stop.
Yeah, it
When we
was.
came through Indiana,
Yeah.
Indianapolis, and
You just said stop by for a steak.
yeah, and we went to dinner together, became friends. You had me over in 2019. I do remember that.
Baptism.
The baptism weekend at your church. And got to preach at your church. It was amazing. So love what you're doing over there, and
Thank you.
You come see us all the time. Renee is one of the best leader developers I think I've ever seen. Like, you're constantly developing your team, your staff.
Thank you.
You do a great job with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. You keep bringing him here. I don't know why you bring him
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Well, and I know we're going to
Learn
talk
to
about
tone.
this a little bit more later on, but just to like set it up, I mean, what they're doing over in Germany with 3 campuses, I mean, it's just like, that's astounding in and of itself. You're such a great leader. But so I've had the privilege of being over there twice in the past couple of years, and it's such a joy to be with your team. They're hospitable. Your people love to worship. What God's doing there is just remarkable. So I can't wait till later on the podcast when we get to kind of celebrate, talk with you, learn from you, but also hear some of the challenges and how we can be praying alongside of you as well.
Thank you.
Renee, can you tell us your family? Your wife's Deborah.
Yes, my
Okay.
wife's Deborah, and I have 3 children.
Okay.
The oldest is Lena. She turns 11 next week.
Awesome.
And then I have my son. He's actually with me the first time in
Yeah,
the States.
dude, that's awesome.
He's 8, and I have a little girl, Leia, like
Okay.
Princess Leia.
Yeah.
But don't tell my wife. And she's 5.
Okay, that's awesome. And what's your son's name?
It's Luan. That's lion in Albanian.
Awesome.
Yeah, we knew we'd get a lion.
That's awesome.
bro.
Beautiful
Yeah.
kids.
I love
Beautiful
that.
family.
Man. That's incredible. All right. Well, so Book of Mark. I'm gonna
Yeah,
kick
man.
it to you, man. Yeah, this weekend.
This
Yeah.
past weekend,
Yeah.
we covered. We finally got into chapter 2. By the way,
Finally,
We made it.
We're there.
I
How
had
many weeks in?
Pastor Carl Cool catch us up.
Yeah.
Like, hey, dude, I'm gonna need you to catch us up because I've been. But we covered chapter 2, 13 to 22. So the calling of Levi, whose name got changed to Matthew, and then Jesus talking about the new cloth on old clothing and new wine and old wineskins, that whole deal. So we just kind of walked through that together. And the title of the message was Disrupted by Grace. So we talk about this difference between the term interrupted and the term disrupted. We can sometimes use them interchangeably, and we really shouldn't, because they mean different things. So interruption is like a temporary deal. Disruption is a permanent deal. So it's like Jesus doesn't come to like interrupt your life. He actually comes to disrupt it in the best way possible. Jesus didn't come to interrupt the system of the law. He came to fulfill it, disrupt it, changing our access to God forever.
Yeah, that's good, man.
And so what I love about the calling of Levi, this is the second calling so far in the book of Mark. The first one that we've covered was James and John being called out of, and Peter being called out of fishing. This is Levi, totally different guy, totally different profession, being called from Jesus out of tax collecting, which, you might say, well, yeah, like, tax collectors or the IRS today probably aren't some of our favorite people. Although we do have IRS agents and people that go to our church that do not fit that mold. We love them. We love them.
Yeah.
Social security number, blah, blah, but anyway, but Levi, why they were so hated was basically, it was a system called tax farming, where agents would buy tax contracts from the Roman Empire, and then they would charge their own people and overcharge them to fulfill the contract, but then they would pad their own pockets with the excess. And they got wealthy off the backs of their own people. So they were despised and hated. And what I love about the calling of Matthew is that he wasn't looking for Jesus at all. Jesus was looking for him. And he went and he found him. There wasn't anything that qualified Matthew. Jesus said, now I'm going to qualify you. I want you to come and follow after me. Totally disrupted his life in the best way possible. He ends up writing, obviously, the Gospel of Matthew. And then moving on into, there's a question in the text about fasting. John's disciples, John the Baptist, and then the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, they're going, hey, why aren't you and your disciples fasting more? And they would have fasted at least, is it twice a week? They would have fasted twice a week. And Jesus and his disciples weren't fasting as much. Right. And so Jesus says something really fascinating where he's like, hey, while the bridegroom is with you, now's the time to celebrate. You're like, what in the world is he talking about? And often the analogy that Jesus would use is that he's the groom, the church is the bride. Yeah. And he's saying, hey, weddings are not a time to fast. Weddings are a time to eat. That's like half the reason why you go to a wedding. Yes. For the food.
I want the cake.
And he's like, we're going to celebrate when I go to the cross and I'm no longer with you, then you can fast.
Yeah.
And so talking a little bit about the purpose of fasting, and then that bled right into him saying you would never put a piece of new cloth on old clothing. It'll shrink and tear out. And then wine and wineskins. And that day they would store wine in some sort of animal skin that was stretchy, because as the wine would ferment, it would release gas, it would need to stretch. But then an old wineskin would become hard and brittle. If you put new wine in an old wineskin, it would crack and break. So it's the same thing with some of our traditions and preferences and opinions that we have.
That's good.
And so this whole disruption of grace, the main points of the message is that God will do anything to reach you, and he loves doing new things to reach lost people. And here's my little theory on this, is that oftentimes, I've been a Christian since 1982, and I've got to see lots of fads come and go, lots of different church styles and functions. The church I grew up in looked nothing like what we do now. And what has a tendency to happen is that the church that we came to know Christ in, and then maybe had a season of growth in, like spiritual growth, the methodologies and the programs and the things that drew us closer to God, we can have a tendency to maybe enshrine them.
That's good.
So it's like the worship style, the hymns, or you want to talk about contemporary worship. Which phase of contemporary worship? Are we going back to like late 1990s? Are we going back to early 2000s? Like
that's the golden era, by the way, of worship music. The 90s.
The answer is the 90s.
All the 90s.
90s always.
So when we talk about contemporary worship, well, we're kind of getting like 25, 30 years into contemporary worship. So what's contemporary, what's not?
That's good.
And different programs, that maybe it was a VBS program or it was a Sunday school thing, so we have a tendency, all great things, methodologies. And if the church moves away from that methodology, which is a wineskin, then we have a tendency to like, what, you be upset or miss there is no glory days in the church. is a glory day when Christ will be revealed. So I think being able to hold on to the mission tightly, hold on to the methodology loosely is some of what we walked through
That's so
this
good.
past weekend.
Such a good weekend. Well, and I think what we could often miss in Mark 2, well, throughout, but certainly in Mark 2 is like what Jesus is saying is so radical, like some of the things. So like, for instance, the fact that he's calling a tax collector, right? Like, so to even just like keep like diving down into that, the fact that he calls Levi, eventually called Matthew, a tax collector in the Jewish world would have had to like turn his back on his family. Like they actually have to be able to, go and take money from their people and send it off to the Roman government. They have to say like, I'm not Jewish anymore, which is crazy.
Right. Right.
Not only so, and then when you say that, you're also saying, I'm not showing up to synagogue anymore. I'm no longer a part of this faith community. So when Jesus comes and calls this guy who has turned his back on his family,
He deconstructed.
Yeah. He's taking money from them and sending them off to these, what they would see as like oppressors. He's not coming to synagogue, and yet he calls this guy. And then like the point that Jesus is making is so clear to us now is like, and I'll call you too, right? Like if I can call Levi, I can also call you, which is just such a radical statement. And, continue to go forward in that. He says so many radical things that I think we can miss because we know it. Whenever he's talking about the fact that, it's not the healthy who need a physician, but the sick. The Pharisees think that Jesus is talking about the other guys, when what he's really saying is like, you guys are the most sick of all. Like they completely miss it. And what he's trying to say is like, you've created so many man-made rules that you don't even know how to follow God anymore, right? Because they've stacked so many things. When he's talking about the wineskins, he's telling them, I'm here to do something new, but you can't receive it because you are the old wineskin. Like you're the point can be for all of us, like if we're stuck in our old ways, whether it's like old ways of worship, or even like for an unbeliever who's like, well, I have my ways of following God, or I have my ways of existing in the world. And Jesus is like, no, I actually want to do something new. Like you have to be completely made new. And just like one more thing I'll throw out, when he says he's the bridegroom, in the Old Testament, in the Old Testament, the bridegroom is God. So it's really clear. The only time the bridegroom's ever mentioned as in an analogy is it's God, and the bride is Israel. So when Jesus says, I'm the bride, or he's talking about the bridegroom, he's saying, I am God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they would pick up on that. The Pharisees, of course, would know that. And so, to us today, there's so many people that have theories of who Jesus was. He was a good person. He was a good teacher. And that's not who Jesus is claiming to be. I love the old, I think it's C.S. Lewis would say, Jesus is either a liar, he's a lunatic, or he's Lord, right? And, I think there's a challenge there for all of us of, if he's the Lord, is he in charge of everything? And so it's such a bold statement. He's making so many bold claims in this like short few passages.
I do want to offer us like a little bit of caution when it comes to this passage, because I think that we oftentimes will use it and maybe misuse it in certain ways. So you'll hear people talk about, hey, Matthew called all of his sinful buddies over for a party, and Jesus is partying with sinners.
Right.
And then we have a tendency to punch down at the Pharisees, like those nasty Pharisees. They don't have a heart. Actually, they knew the law really well.
Yeah.
And the law did say, don't associate with sinners.
Yeah.
So I think they were technically right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like this difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law.
It's good.
So they had the letter of the law down. They were missing the heart of God in it. And it's not like, I'll hear some Christians use this to say, well, I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to go to the strip club because that's where Jesus would go. A couple things. Number one, Jesus is God. You're not.
Yeah.
Jesus was sinless. You're not.
Right.
And it wasn't like Jesus wasn't partying with him saying, oh man, you just do you. Right. He wasn't doing that. The dinner conversation usually came around to, hey man, go and sin no more.
That's right.
So I think we got to just be really important that we don't divorce the rest of Scripture from Jesus' words.
That's good.
There are some Christians that are Genesis to Revelation Christians, and there are some Christians that are just like Sermon on the Mount Christians.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't divorce Sermon on the Mount from the rest of the Bible because all the Bible is God's words. Jesus is God.
Yeah.
So every word that of the scriptures Jesus would affirm. So I think we just got to have a little bit of caution. I probably in my earlier days, I probably mispreached that passage in the sense of being like, so that's why
Me too.
we're not. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that I'm not alone in that. But it's like, that's why we're gonna, do the. It's like, no, man. Like, I think we got to be a little bit cautious, or at least a little bit discerning and careful.
Yeah.
Do you guys think and this is for all of you, do y'all think that's how we get to the place when we start to divorce everything you just said, and we start to kind of almost weaponize Jesus's words? Like, well, he loves everybody. Even using the dinner analogy, it's like, yeah, he did, but he didn't leave them where they were. We've talked about that on this podcast before of like the most loving thing you can do at times is challenge someone to grow. And be like, dude, you got to stop doing the thing that's not that good for you. So you think that's how that kind of comes into place when we start to separate and kind of carve out and weaponize?
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Right. I mean, there's like a way of thinking about like scriptures where that's called biblical theology, where it's just exactly what Pastor Aaron was just saying, where you can't just take a section or one passage and divorce it from the rest of biblical theology. How does this one thing fit into a larger scope and narrative? And so often, so many people will take one thing, or it's really interesting, I think, too. You see this a lot today where non-Christians, people who do not, believe, maybe they'd even say they're atheistic and be like, well, I don't believe any of that, but you should believe my version of how I would say that, well, Jesus says this. It's like, but you don't believe any of this. So can I help you with the, with your translation of that?
Yeah. Renee, anything from you, man? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're very right. It's, I would say all the methods are cultural and they're temporary. But the message, and that's what you're saying, is eternal. Yeah. It's eternal. It's always the same. It stays the same. It will always be the same. But the methods have to change. I don't know if any of you has been to Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been to the Western Wall, I think. And there's that place where only men are allowed to go, where the rabbis, they teach and they do their stuff. And this is what a service looked like when Jesus was speaking about services. So there's a place, and it's a chaos. Everyone is reading and everyone is doing something, and then one is standing up and reading a verse, and some people are listening and writing stuff. The other one is standing up and singing. The other one is doing something here, and it's a chaos for European view, maybe for you too. This is not how we could do services in our organized, westernized world. We have to do things different. So the method is different all the time, but the message that they are teaching is eternal. The message that we are teaching is eternal. And I think that's very important to understand with culture. How you do things here in America, some of them work in Germany, and we learn from you, we copy. But a lot of things that you guys are doing here, I have to contextualize.
Sure.
We can't do a 60-minute service in Germany. People wouldn't come for 60 minutes. It's totally different. Here, people come late and leave early. We don't want that. But that is not happening in Germany. So we have at least 1.5 hours, and sometimes even longer. And people love it.
When I was there, it was 2 hours, and it was great.
They stay. And it's things are different. The methods have to change. I don't know how it is here.
The message.
The message stays, but we have to think about Gen Z. Things are changing again, and we have to change things.
Yeah, that's good, man.
It's staying anchored to the truth and not letting go of that. And I think I even throw out this axiom this last weekend: methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change, principles never do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's like I'm ankered to the truth of the scriptures, and then I'm contextualizing it to.
It's like this guy's
to the days in which
it's like this guy's a preacher or something.
Which I memorized that. I memorized that like 25 years ago.
So good,
and it stayed in. But I think what we're talking about is this word called missiology. And missiology is the root word of that is mission or missionary. So it's like just as a missionary would go into a foreign nation, and you would have to take some time to learn the language and to learn the customs and to build relationships. In the same way, we are missionaries in our own culture, whether you're from Germany and doing ministry in Germany or from America and doing ministry in America, because you got to be a student of the culture in which we live to know how to contextualize the message so that the culture can connect to it.
It's so good.
And so I want to bring something out too. I talked about this yesterday, or this past weekend in the passage, is that right in verse 13, Mark says Jesus was walking along and teaching, and a large crowd formed around him. And I paused for a second and I said, why in the world would Mark find it necessary to tell us that it was a large crowd? Why not just say that, a few people gathered around Jesus? Well, Mark, how many people? Not important. Numbers, we're not going to focus on numbers. He didn't say that. He says unapologetically, uses the adjective. It was a not a medium-sized crowd, not a small crowd, large crowd.
Large crowd.
So was it because he wanted us to, was he validating Jesus? Was he trying to impress us? No. It's a word that is used to describe the fact that there were thousands of people hurting and hopeless in need of what Jesus was bringing. So the reason why I pause on that and bring it up is because we live in a society, I don't know fully how this is in Germany, Renee, probably somewhat similar, but where culture is a little bit allergic to anything big, especially churches. So it's like, if that's a big church, or the big scary word mega church, which I'm not a super great fan of in and of itself anyway, just because of the way it sounds. Sounds like a Transformer name or something. But to say anything that's large must be selling out. Anything that's large must be watering down. It must just be entertainment. And so you kind of look at it with suspicion, or I don't want to have anything to do with that. But Jesus told Peter in Acts, he said, I'm going to build my church. He didn't say he was going to gather it. He said, I'm going to build it. So there's something about building, which implies, that there's some sort of you're reaching people. You're not just static. And there's thousands and thousands of people in this world that are hopeless and in need of what Jesus offers. And so we unapologetically go after them to reach them. So in my first 3 minutes, I mentioned this last weekend, in my first 3 ministries, the churches that I served were all under 200 people. And the number one struggle for me in getting people to come back when I would follow up is they would, when I could finally get them to be honest with me, they would say, well, it's great and all, but it's just not big enough. Like, what do you mean? Well, it's like, we need something for our kids, or we need something a little bit bigger we're looking for a church that can offer this. And we didn't have the size to give it to them. Very frustrating, because as a visionary achiever, planter, builder, I'm like, well, come help us get there, man. We're not going to get any bigger if you don't come. Now, a common thing that I hear from people, hey, I visited your church. Oh yeah, what'd you think? Oh, it was great and all, but probably not going to come back. Why? Too big. I'm like, okay, I know at some point we hit the perfect size church.
What's that magic
and
number?
I didn't celebrate it because I didn't know what that number was.
You forgot to put out the no vacancy sign.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing. I've had this question asked of, because by God's grace, we've grown very large over the last 18 years.
Praise God.
And I've had people ask me, and with all sincerity, hey, when did you decide to be a mega church? Never. We never decided that.
How do you decide?
What does that look like?
We shall be mega church.
From now on.
We never decided that.
Yeah.
We just had this desire.
Yeah.
So here's the question people often ask, because I'll say, I want to do this another 15 or 20 years. Well, how big's the church going to get? And I have no idea. Just one more.
Yes.
Just one more.
Yeah.
And the question that I want to present to people is, if the church is too big, who you turning away?
That's right.
Your son and your daughter?
Nope.
Your coworker you've been praying for, your neighbor?
Yeah.
So it's not about size. And honestly, you guys have heard me say this, and Renee, you would understand this. Actually, big crowds are overrated. All big crowd anymore. Now, when I see big crowds, I just see more emails, more criticism, more pain. It's like large crowds of selfish, fake people in it for themselves is not bringing heaven to earth. It's hell on earth. However, large crowds that are fully surrendered to Jesus, that are godly, running after him, heart to serve others. There's a word for it in 2 Corinthians, the aroma of Christ.
I love
Amen.
And there's something about that that's winsome. So what I want to do right now is, it's exciting to me to see Joe Rogan over the last 20, 25 years. If you've been paying attention, I probably first started paying attention to Joe Rogan when he was the host of Fear Factor, like the original
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
like
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, of course,
There's a
yeah.
new one actually. It just got
I
released.
saw that.
Oh, really?
I saw that.
With what's his name?
Johnny
Johnny Knoxville.
Yes,
So Johnny
that's right.
Knoxville's doing the reboot of that. But anyway, Joe Rogan did the original, and I remember seeing a clip of Joe Rogan on Fear Factor when this girl won like thousands of dollars, and he goes, "Hey, what are you going to do with the money?" And she goes, "I'm going to tithe it to my church."
Come on.
And he looked at her and he was like, "What? Why in the world would you ever do that?" Like he's just this like militant atheist.
Yep.
And obviously he has the biggest podcast in the world, I think, or one of the biggest
By far.
And
Yeah.
and watching him over the years begin to process all this and how far he's come, I do not yet think he's a believer, but man, he's well on his way. I do know, especially after his interview with Wes Huff, that really moved him. And he is attending a church in Austin. I don't know which one. I've got a few pastor
I don't
buddies
know.
in Austin. I need to find out. But he's attending a church in Austin, and he said something in his podcast a couple weeks ago that I want to play the clip of this
Yeah,
because it shows that like aroma of Christ, like
Yep.
somebody's paying attention to this, and is a good warning for us as a church that as we gather, and the bigger we get, the more of a target we're going to be, the more people are going to take shots, that sort of a thing. This is the goal for us. I want to run this clip
Yeah,
and
great.
have us
Come
kind of
on.
react to this.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Joe Rogan.
One of the things that I always try to point out to people, they go, "Why do you go to church?" Like, because when I was younger, I was very cynical about religion, and then I've got older. One of the things that I always say is, if there was a pill that could make you as nice as the people that I go to church with, everybody would be on it.
Yeah.
They are the nicest people you will ever encounter. When we leave
Are
the
they
church
nice or are they
parking lot,
kind?
they're kind.
Yeah, they're kind.
Kind and nice. They're all the above. They're like very friendly, happy people. But when you leave the church parking lot, or even when you're entering, they're everybody lets everybody in. It's like no one rushes ahead. It's like you go ahead and then you go ahead. It's like the most self-organized, most charitable way of exiting a parking lot I've ever experienced in my life. The opposite of a concert. You go to a great concert, everybody's like on everybody's bumper, trying to weasel in. People are honking. You in church, it's like one person goes and another person goes, no, you go, wave, and then everybody's fine and everybody's happy. It's like if you could take a pill that could do that to you, if therapy could do that to you, we should all be on therapy. We should all take that pill.
Philosophy can do that.
That's good, right?
Yeah, that's
Let's
good.
get her there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, first of all, I just want to say, I hope that's our experience in the
Yes.
parking lot.
Yes.
I don't know if it's true
And
for
not like
everybody.
a concert. Yeah, for sure.
Well, hopefully it's better than, like Morgan Wallen concert. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But where people are being nice. But I think it's a good reminder for all of us that call traders home to go, you know what? Here's the deal that I would just put in front of everybody is that even if you come to church on the weekend and let's just say you're not serving or maybe you're not serving that weekend and you come in, I just want you to know that you can make a huge difference
Yes.
right there. You may not realize who you're interacting with in the parking lot, in the lobby, in the coffee line, kids ministry line. People are paying attention. Here's the thing. If a non-Christian decides to attend church, they're assuming everybody else that is there is a Christian.
Yeah.
Whether you are or
good.
not.
That's good,
right.
man. That's
And
good.
so just
good.
pay attention to the fact, like your body language, the look on your face, how you're serving other people. Are you kind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you not? Because God
Yeah.
may actually use that
Yeah.
as an impression in somebody's life
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
more so than the sermon that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think statistically they say people decide within the first 20
Yep.
minutes of pulling
Yep.
onto your campus whether or not they will return to church.
that's right.
That's way before the sermon ever
Yep.
starts.
Sad for
Absolutely.
preachers.
And man, that's and guys, that's why like when we talk Difference Maker 3,
Yeah.
so when we talk about how we show up matters. Our Difference Maker 3, if you don't know, that's bring your best, infuse joy, and then love the one. And it's exactly what you're talking about. You're smiling. You're not just like happy to be there,
Yeah.
but you're ready for people.
Yeah.
Like we meant for you to show up.
That's right.
And so our teams do an incredible job of that. And just a shout out, if you're not on a team right now, man your station. Come
on.
Like be a part of this because there are Joe Rogans showing up every single weekend
Yeah.
at every single location. Be a part of this because it's not just about, we don't want this from you. It's what God can do through you in someone else's life. And so man your station, get on the app, download the app, and you can sign up to be on a team right now.
Yeah. Well, to your point, Pastor Aaron, traders can look like a big church, and I suppose if you compare it to churches across the country, yeah, it's a big church. Compared to 2 million people in the city of Indianapolis, we're small, and there's so much more to go. There's so many more Levi's, right? There's so many more tax collectors. There's so many more people who don't think they're close to God that God is pursuing, and this clip, which I love. When I heard this, the first thing that came to mind was a situation I had years ago, a church I was at years ago. And one Sunday I was preaching, so I was backstage getting ready to hop on in our fourth service. And a young woman came up to me, and I knew she was like a new, what we would call a difference maker, a new volunteer backstage. And she said, "Hey, can I talk to you for just a minute before you head out?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And she said, I just need to tell you this story. And so she starts like recounting just a few months ago. She said, I had completely given up on God. I had given up on church. And she's like, I woke up one Sunday morning, and she said, I felt like God was speaking to me and said, give me one more chance. And so she said, I knew about your church, and I decided I was going to come check out your church. And she said, you probably don't remember me. And if I'm being honest, I don't remember the moment. She said, but you were standing at the front door and you welcomed me in. And she said, when you opened the door, I heard God say, I told you I'd meet you here.
Wow, man.
And I honestly, I don't even remember the moment. I just, I was kind of standing to our new guest area, and, probably just like walked her in and showed her around. And she said, and here I am. Like I've given my life to God again. I'm following after Jesus. I'm here serving on the team. And it was just a reminder to me, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Like you never know who's walking in. And man, if you'll do those three things, bring your best, infuse joy, love the one, like when you're sitting out in the auditorium, like don't, before the service, after the service, when we say turn and greet, like that's a moment, like
Absolutely.
Get to know the people around you.
Yeah.
You assume they've been coming for years, and this could be their very first Sunday, right? When you're getting coffee, when you're hanging out in the lobby, like spend time doing those three things. We say it around here a lot, like come ready. Like that's coming ready. When you are bringing your best, infusing joy, loving the one, you're coming ready, and we're a whole different place, and people get that kind of experience.
Yeah. Statistically, people that are selfless are just happier.
Yes.
And we know that to be true in all of our lives. And that's why every single one of us battle selfishness to a certain extent. But whenever you serve somebody or do something nice for somebody, at first you might be like, oh, it's kind of putting me out. And then after you do it, you just feel so great. Anytime I'm having a bad day, it's typically because I'm in my head too much thinking about my circumstances. Anytime I begin to serve somebody else, it lightens the load.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Anytime I start to feel like it's a grind.
Yeah.
Like, as a preacher, like every Sunday, you don't just go skipping into every Sunday going, oh, this is amazing. The weekends where maybe I'm feeling a little down and like maybe I'm starting to feel like this is a grind, or maybe even I just don't feel like preaching. Typically it's because I don't feel confident enough in the material, and I'm afraid that people aren't going to like it. As soon as I can shift my mindset to say there could be a Joe Rogan or somebody else that's coming in for the very first time, let me connect with them. It changes everything. So it's like, so I would say to our people, if church has become somewhat like routine and you're like, I don't know, I'm kind of talking myself into going, pray the prayer of our good friend Mike Bro. God, would you please put somebody in my path today?
Yeah, that's good.
Like
That's
put
good.
somebody in my
Really
path.
good.
Somebody that's
I love that.
in need, somebody that's, and you get in on the mission of what God is doing, and then God starts answering that prayer, and then it gets exciting.
Yeah.
Because listen, man, we sing like 4 songs a week. You're going to hear a 45, 50-minute sermon. There's not necessarily a lot different that we do every single week. It's not about that. We're going to bring fresh content, fresh encounter with the Lord. But part of the encounter isn't just you receiving. Jesus said it is more blessed to give than to receive.
good.
That's not just talking about writing checks. That's talking about giving of yourself. So you show up with a servant's mindset and watch what God might do with it.
Amen.
Well, hey, I want to interrupt the conversation for just a moment. On the pod, we talk a ton about spiritual disciplines and rhythms. And you might be thinking to yourself, man, I would really like to grow in those areas. And so what we have for you is something called Rooted. Rooted's a 10-week experience, and honestly, it's probably more like a boot camp on how to worship and to give and to serve. And so if that's something you want to be a part of, here's what you do. You download the app, and then you go to the Rooted button and hit that. You can sign up there. You don't want to miss it. Again, our Rooted session, it's open. Registration's open right now, so sign up. Let's get back to the conference. Let's shift gears a little bit. Renee, I want to hear more about what's going on in Germany. And Chad, I'm going to kick it to you, man, if you want to just kind of tee us up. But bro, we are so glad you're here. And,
Thank you.
And all the things that we are hearing, what God is doing there. And I'll just say this as I kick it over to you, Chad. It's like, man, guys, I just want to remind all of you who are listening, us in the room, we're seeing God move in incredible ways. As chaotic as the world is, as outlandish as some of the things that are happening are, God's purposes remain, and they're still moving forward. We're seeing lives change. We're seeing the gospel prevail. It always will, no matter what. And so, really encouraged it, man. We want to hear kind of what's going on with you. So Chad, if you want.
Yeah. Well, and we just came out of our Awaken season as a church, and one of the things we talked about was how our dollars were going to go beyond just our churches and Indianapolis, and our missions team, like they have done the work over the past several years. We have the best partners, here in the central Indiana, across the nation with church planners, and then around the world with various missionaries and church planners. And, certainly Renee and Zeal Church and their whole team and their family is at the top of that list. I mean, what you guys are doing is remarkable. And so, man, I'd love to hear, once you've been there and you can see it, just like you were talking about Israel before, you get a little bit more context, but help Trader's Point understand what's going on, right? So one of the things you did my first trip there is you took me to Wittenberg, right? So if you don't know where Wittenberg is, that's where the Reformation began. That's where Martin Luther nailed,
Also not in Indiana.
Also not in Indiana.
So,
in Germany, just to be clear.
No, not even in America.
We are in.
That's right.
We are in Germany. So in Wittenberg is where he nails the 95 Theses. He begins to he didn't even know what he was starting just yet. The Reformation begins, and we're not sitting perhaps in a Protestant church today if that moment doesn't happen.
Absolutely.
So
What's the starting point?
The oldest Protestant church in the world is in Wittenberg. That's where Martin Luther would preach.
Yeah.
So at one time one of the most vital places on the planet for the gospel.
Yeah.
And now it's quite the opposite. And you guys decide to step into that place. So help us understand the context of what's going on in the Saxony area, the various places you guys are. And then, man, just tell us, what's God doing there?
Yeah. Yeah. So Wittenberg is half an hour away from my house. Wow. So it's just around the corner. I've been there multiple times, standing on that door where Luther put the thesis, where they started translating the Bible the first time from Latin into German. And that led to so much, and so much happened because of that little town. It's actually a small town, so the area Saxony is part of the former communist part of Germany. So Germany got divided after World War II into two parts, and one part was ruled by the Allies, so America, the Brits, and the French, and one part was ruled by the Russians, and they decided to make the greatest communist and socialist country in the world, and they called it the German Democratic Republic, GDR. So this is the part that was behind the Berlin Wall. You might heard about that one. And the Berlin Wall fell 89, and that opened a whole new world for Germany, and Germany was united again. So this is the reason why I can build a church over there, because I was born in West Germany.
Wow.
Me and my wife moved over 13 years ago to the city of Leipzig. It's the city of the peaceful revolution. You have to Google that one. It's very interesting how God was involved in having a peaceful revolution in Germany and bringing the wall down and reuniting Germany.
Well, just real quick on that, because I know we'll get down the road and I don't want to miss this, because I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Right. So growing up in America, hearing about East Germany, hearing about the Berlin Wall, what I heard was, there was a movement in Berlin and the wall comes down, and that's true, but that was the back end. What actually happened were prayers were happening in Leipzig, and there was a prayer movement that was spreading across the country. I'd love to just share a little bit about that, and then keep telling us about Zeal.
Actually, everything started in Leipzig. Was a young pastor, and he started a peace prayer that's still happening till today on Monday nights in a little church downtown Leipzig. And they started, I think, in the end of the 70s, and they prayed every Monday for peace in the nation, for peace for East Germany. And that
what kind of a church was it?
It's called the Nikolai Church, St. Nikolai. It's a Protestant church, Lutheran church, but the pastor is a real evangelical, deep believing guy, and or he was, and he started these prayers, and he always, every Monday, he preached the gospel, pure, raw gospel, and then they prayed.
Wow.
And he never knew how many spies will be in the service, so everyone was a little curious who's popping in. It was a very interesting situation, and mid of the 80s, after every peace prayer, they started demonstrating on the streets. And they had big demonstrations happening, every Monday night. So first peace prayer and then the demonstrations. And these demonstrations in Leipzig, they started the whole revolution. And I deeply believe, I really deeply believe, I was so often in a museum. I saw so many videos. I talked to people who marched on the streets. I have people in my church that sat in these prayers. And I deeply believe this revolution was peaceful, not one shot. Not one shot. It was the prayers that reunited Germany.
That's so good.
What did the history books say was the origins of the wall coming down?
They speak about the peace prayers sometimes, but they speak more about some political stuff happening, more like that the wall came down was an interview situation, and one of the big politicians read a paper and it said, the people of East Germany are allowed to travel. And then someone asked him, when is that happening? And he said in front of the whole crowd in the TV, I don't know, I think from now on. So and they say, it happened on,
That's awesome.
and we don't know why,
then
but
people started
it was a
going.
mistake. So I deeply believe it's born in these prayers.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
So the history books say some of it, but you never would hear what I said now.
sure.
I said in the history classes in Germany. So it's like, there was that demonstrations happening. And because of that demonstration and some candles, the peaceful revolution started. The politicians said, we expected everything. We expected shootings. We expected everything. But we didn't expect prayers and candles.
That's amazing.
That's incredible, man.
Prayer works.
It works. It not only works, if I may add on that,
Yeah, please.
it moves whole nations.
That's good, man. Oh, come on.
It moves nations. It changes nations. It can change politics. It can reunite nations.
That's good.
It can change our nations. And I think Germany, and we don't speak, we speak we don't speak enough about that because there is an example. It's only 30 years ago.
Man.
It happened in the
crazy.
Western world.
Yeah.
The Iron Curtain fell
Yeah.
because of prayers.
Wow.
It's powerful, man.
And then you
That's
guys
so
chose to step into that area.
Yeah.
Like you guys are kind of from like Western, a little bit Southern Germany. You guys come to Leipzig 13 years ago. Kind of talk to us a little bit about what's happening. 3 different campuses, guys doing some really special, unique things there.
Yeah. So when we started the church over there, I made a deal with God. If we don't grow in 3 years to 30 people, I close it down because they call that area the church planting graveyard.
Oh, wow.
It's by statistics the most atheistic area in the whole world.
You prayed 30 people in 3 years.
Yeah. It's always funny if you speak about mega churches and it's like, oh, Traders Point is too big. It's like, it is massive. But people in my church tell me if we have 200 people in the service, oh, that's way too big. So I'm always like, when is it too big? Like you said, it's like, what is too big if people meet Jesus?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's interesting because in the States, in church planting, we would actually say if you don't get to 100 people in a year,
I know.
your chances of survival are pretty minimal.
Listen, 2 weeks ago, we opened another campus.
Yeah.
It took us 7 years to get over 100 people.
Wow.
And we were, I would say, at least 3 times just before closing it down. And we could open it finally. We have 2 services every Sunday with around 100 to 150 people now. It's in the mountains, in the rural area, old mining area, small towns, countryside. It's awesome. And the people loving it and they serve and they give and it's growing. So if you see that area, and it's the only area in the whole world that has the 3rd generation of atheism as a norm.
Wow.
So if Americans speak about atheism, it's always like somebody who stepped out of church or your mom stepped out of church.
Yeah.
And it's the 1st generation. We have the 3rd generation because of socialism and communism that destroyed faith almost completely since World War II.
Yeah.
So you were allowed to be a Christian, but there was certain rules around it. So I have people in my church that were Christians during the GDR, but they weren't allowed to study because they were Christians.
Yeah.
So you were very careful if you want to believe or not.
Wow.
You know, one of the most moving conversations that I had in your church when I was there visiting was with Steve's parents.
Yeah. That's one of those who weren't allowed to study. Yeah,
Yes.
Steve is my CFO.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they came up to me, I remember after, I think at the time, I don't know if this is true now, they were driving like over an hour to come.
Yeah, they moved.
Did they move? But at the time they were driving like over an hour. And
Yeah.
I said,
For years.
And, you know, in the church, I mean, you're reaching a lot of really young people too.
Yeah.
And they were by far like the oldest couple
At that
in the
time,
crowd.
yeah.
At that time.
The first old people.
The first wave of old people. But I remember them saying to me through tears, I said, you know, why do you drive an hour to come here? And they said, because we've always been praying for a move of God in Germany, and now it's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they were praying especially for a move of God with young people.
Yeah.
Their whole lives. They, you know, they are now end of their 60s, and they came one Sunday to me, and I was probably 27. Like, Pastor René, we're so thankful for your sermons. I wish we could listen to these sermons earlier in our lives. I was like, man,
Wow.
what is happening here?
Yeah.
So it's
That's incredible.
to end that little story. 3 years on the day after we started, we had 300 people in two campuses.
Wow.
So something is happening here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are reaching lots of people that have never, ever seen a church from the inside. So I kid a lot, I joke around a little bit about my children, pastors' kids. What do they do in the pool in summer? They're baptized. That's what pastors' kids do, right?
Yeah,
They're
for
baptized.
sure.
So they baptize all the neighbors' kids. So all my neighbors' kids are baptized.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, but the kids are coming. What are you doing here? What is that? Are you dunking each other for fun? It's like, no, we're baptizing.
That's amazing.
And the kids ask, what is baptizing?
Wow.
What is a baptism? And then watching my kids explaining, I was like, yeah, it's that Jesus thing. That's what Jesus did. Who's Jesus?
Wow.
Oh, wow. And that thing with the Bible, don't you have a Bible, like a children's Bible at home or something? And the kid's like, what is a Bible? So this is the ground we're on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is our neighborhood. This is our cities. And this is the norm.
Yeah.
So this is over 90% of the people. You
Wow.
know, it's not just a few.
Yeah.
And I think we're walking in that direction all over in the Western world. And yeah, we believe God is positioning us in that area, and something is happening right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to like kind of talk about this. So a lot of times Pastor Aaron will say, you know, as we're seeing a resurgence of God's Spirit and salvation across America, there's also going to be resistance, right? And you guys are certainly seeing that. I mean, we could talk for hours about the resurgence of what God is doing there. I mean, I got to be there and had the privilege of preaching back in November.
Yeah.
You guys were getting ready to lean into like vision nights and some campaigns for some new building spaces. And so I got to talk on tithing. I got to talk on the spiritual principle of tithing, right?
Was good.
And then you came up and gave a salvation message after that of, you know, if God's a giver, you know, or, you know, if God's a giver, like this is supposed to be your response back to him. And then I don't even remember 25, 30 people,
Something,
maybe
yeah.
more, began a life-saving, life-changing relationship with Jesus that day. I mean, God is moving.
It's incredible.
And at the same time, you're also seeing some resistance. And so
yeah.
I'd love for you to share a little bit of what's been happening with the coffee shop. You guys have a coffee shop that was your original location.
Yeah.
You guys were doing multiple services in it. You outgrew it. You turned it into a coffee shop that's kind of in an area of Leipzig where you get to reach out to young people. It's a space where, because there are so many people who don't have any kind of foundation with faith, it's it's kind of a third space where people can come and meet with you and your team, and your wife Deborah's often there leading the place. I mean, it's a beautiful coffee shop, and the coffee's great too. But you guys have also been experiencing some attacks there as well. So I'd love for you to share a little bit of the challenges so our people know how to be praying for you guys.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're on one hand super thankful for the growth that we're seeing and people giving their life to Jesus, lots of baptism. Also the connection to you guys. Thank you so much for everything you're doing, sending teams. I'm always saying thank you for the money, but it's not about the money, it's about the relationship. I come here quite often, once or two times a year, and I'm so blessed. I'm always leaving blessed. I'm always leaving encouraged by all of you. Thank you so much for praying for us and helping us and supporting us. This is the good part. The crazy part is, a friend of mine told me last year, Renee, you're known in heaven, but you're also known in hell. And we are taking back ground in our town. And the first church for decades growing again. And yeah, we started that coffee shop 2 years ago. We did services on that place. Nothing ever happened. We had big flags outside. And a new church experience. Never ever something happened. So we opened the coffee shop selling cinnamon rolls. We actually have the best ones. And awesome coffee.
Yeah.
And we bake our own cakes and have awesome atmosphere.
Yeah.
And we just opened the coffee shop, and 3 days later, all our windows have been destroyed. And there was a big message going viral on the internet from a very leftist, socialist, crazy, extremist group that celebrated destroying our windows because we're fundamentalistic, whatever Christians.
Wow.
And that was a little bit over 2 years ago. Now we have 24 attacks after more than 2 years.
Wow.
They spilled stinky acid in our coffee shop 2 times. We had to close it down the first time 3 weeks. Now the last one was on Christmas Day. Christmas morning, I got a call, Renee, you need to come. I was cleaning the coffee shop on Christmas morning. And it was on purpose that it was Christmas night.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
was on purpose. Our holy night, they destroyed our coffee shop. They drilled a hole and injected over 500 milliliter acid into our coffee shop. And we had to close it down for 6 weeks. So we had multiple paint attacks, 2 times destroyed the windows, acid 2 times. It is crazy, and it's always the same reason. We are too conservative.
Wow.
Our beliefs are too conservative. How can we believe in Jesus Christ and the Bible?
Wow.
So you guys are speaking on biblical righteousness, and there are attacks, coming against you. So I know there's also been some good news of late. I think there's been some news reports, that have been going around, government officials that are getting involved. You guys have been praying. We've been praying alongside of you. How can both in terms of the coffee shop, and man, just like in general, like how can we be praying for Zeal? Like we love you guys. We love what you're doing. And like we're in your corner.
I think God is opening lots of opportunities right now. I was like, when I started in my, when I went into ministry 20 years ago, I thought I will teach about the gospel and people give their life to Jesus and you disciple people. Nobody told me I will talk to politicians. Even in Berlin, where our parliament is, we have contacts now into the EU. Lots of crazy things are happening right now. And newspapers are coming, TV is coming, and we speak a lot about our religious freedom, and it's a big thing that's happening right now. And I think the stone is just rolling out. So please pray with us. We need lots of wisdom. What is the right connections right now? And I deeply believe that whole coffee shop thing is not about us. When I cleaned the coffee shop on Christmas Day, I was so mad. I said to God, "Hey God, why again?" He said to me, "Renee, I think you and your wife can carry that." And I was even more mad. I was like, "God, are you kidding me? I don't want to carry that."
Yeah.
And it feels like there is something happening for Germany right now. And we're not the only church that gets attacked. Not that regularly like we experiencing it, but it's happening all over the country. Paint attacks, fire attacks, all of that crazy stuff is happening all over the place, but nobody's talking about it. No news is talking about it. And now something is rolling out, and politicians are talking about it. There is something happening in Berlin. There's something happening in Brussels where the EU Parliament is sitting. They have like a group working on anti-Christian hate crime. So there's something, we're listed there now, and there's something happening. And please pray with us. We need wisdom and clarity on all of these things. And I hope something is shifting right now. Yeah, that's one thing.
Well, it certainly seems like it. And I would say that I'm reminded of like a city on a hill. It's like a city on a hill.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I think that what to me this sounds like, I mean, it's like, come on, man, 24 attacks, drilling holes in acid. Satan's getting pretty desperate.
It's like,
And what I've appreciated about you, Renee, is that, culturally you've always been, and I say culturally, I mean like we're speaking about context. I mean, just look at the way this guy's dressed. Like he's just the epitome of cool.
So good. Every time.
I want to be René Wagner.
Not
when I grow
denim.
up. Not denim.
the only
He's not
non-
wearing denim.
London is my inspiration.
Denim was so 2010.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I didn't get that memo.
Yeah,
exactly.
You should have texted
We'll get you on the text string next time. Yeah.
But what I've appreciated about Renee is as his church has grown, he has been committed to the gospel, to teaching the way of Jesus, and not necessarily capitulating to cultural swings.
Yeah.
I think that's why God's honoring
Yes.
in that. I mean, you said
Thank
this
you.
to me. I don't know if you remember saying this to me. You were in my backyard this summer when you were here, and you said, I hope it's okay for me to share this. If not,
Please.
we'll edit it
No,
out later.
sure.
But you said I've told my staff we are no longer a seeker church.
Yeah.
You remember saying that to me?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I really appreciated that because I know that like the seeker church in America influenced all of us to certain degrees.
Yeah.
There's certain things about it that are great. There's certain things
That's
about
how
it
I
that are
learned
not.
to build church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just said, what did you mean by that?
I would say it's more we want the people to get involved. It's not we're not a hotel where you come and you sit in and you get your meal and then you leave and somebody makes your bed, somebody cleans after you. No. This church is more kind of like a hospital, or you use the analogy of the cruise ship or the battleship. I love that whole analogy because it's I want the people to get involved.
Yeah.
I want them to be discipled, and it feels like the whole seeker-sensitive thing. We're like, we can't say that, and is it okay to speak about Jesus? Is it okay to hang a cross here? And we need to be sensitive, and it feels like in the last 30 years. Social media, internet, and the media discipled our people more than we did.
Amen,
and
man.
now we
That's so
as
good.
churches get mad. Oh, why are they watching the TV? Don't watch Netflix. Don't go too much to Instagram. They will. The problem is here.
That's good.
We have done a bad job on discipling our churches. And that's what we are talking about a lot. And what we talked also on your patio, it's how can we disciple our church well? How can we get the people engaged? And it's not just serving; it's more. It's read your Bible, get to know who Jesus is.
Yeah.
Do you know for who you're fighting for? What you're fighting for?
That's good.
There might be a spy sitting. That's what but that's what people in my church said. There was a reason why we follow Jesus. And it's not just, we love to sit there and Pastor Aaron is giving an awesome sermon and I feel better afterwards. And it takes me a week and then maybe I'm coming back because I feel bad. That's not what church is.
Yeah.
Church is following Jesus.
good.
Church is loving Jesus.
Yeah.
Church is sharing Jesus. This is why church has to grow.
Yeah.
It has to grow.
Yeah.
And if it's not growing at one place, we need to build we need to start new churches because there is so. How big is Indy? What did you say?
2 million.
2 million. There is so many people that need
Yeah.
Jesus, and I've seen some of them here. They need Jesus.
You mean like on staff here?
Yeah, maybe you. I just can't. No, they need Jesus.
That's good, bro. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like every now and then people will be like, oh, there's like so many churches. I'm like, man, there's not enough.
Nope.
Like, here's the deal.
Not
is
at all.
that One of the things that we're praying for is that we're praying, and by the way, that there are more churches closing their doors in record rates
Yes,
than
that's right.
ever
Yes.
before. in
Absolutely.
history.
Right.
So, and I don't think that's always a bad thing. It kind of reminds me
Yeah.
of what Jesus said in Revelation. He equates the church to a lampstand, and he said, if you lose your first love, I'll put your light out.
Yeah.
So like, I think that, that's actually fulfilled prophecy, that there's a lot of churches, they take their eyes off Jesus. They begin to not teach the scriptures faithfully. It's going to put your light out. But we need to plant more effective churches to reach people. And if God breathed out, and let's just say that everybody in Indy turned to Jesus, they would need a church to go to. As it stands right now, there's not enough buildings, there's not enough seats for that to happen. And it's not just about our church. Obviously, we got to own and steward the vision and ministry of Traders Point.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's so many great churches in Indy. I'm friends with just about all the pastors.
Yeah.
And we're texting each other and praying for each other. And man, I hope that, you have an incredible Christmas Eve and incredible Easter. We're pulling for each other because it's about the kingdom. It's not about our individual churches
That's
that
good,
we're
man.
building. And so I think that's important to acknowledge. Yeah, man, I've just appreciated that about you, Renee. I've appreciated some of the stands that you've taken that have actually given you a lot of heat and how you've been like, no, I'm going to unapologetically when it comes to like sexuality, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to these things, I'm not going to capitulate on that stuff. And I think that God's blessing you. And there's something about that. It's like salt and it's like a mustard seed that's happening in Germany that he's yielding a lot of fruit from it. So I appreciate you, brother. I'm inspired
Thank
by
you so much. Same
learned,
here.
I've learned a ton from you, and am grateful for your ministry.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Well,
Thank you, Traders Point.
Why don't you pray for him in just a minute? I think I want to just remind everyone, when you give here at Traders,
Yes.
you're giving to support churches
Yeah.
like Zeal Church.
Absolutely.
So give your first and best. Jump in, tithes and
Yeah.
offerings. This is what God is doing. It's helping what He's using and working through you and through what you give to support Zeal. And then, man, like Pastor Renee said, pray. Man, prayer. How'd you say it? Prayer unifies nations.
And it moves nations. Yeah.
And man, I love
Changes
that.
nations.
It does, and I love that. So be praying for them. Join us as we do that. So, Pastor, why don't you pray, and then we can close it down.
Father, we come to you right now, and we're so grateful for Pastor Renee and Deborah and just their whole team. And we love what Zeal Church and what you're doing through them to reach Leipzig and the rest of East Germany. Father, I just pray right now that you would fill their cup, their team that's here, Renee's son that's able to be here. I just pray that they'd have an amazing time, that they'd be really encouraged in their time here, and that we could make a lot of investments into them. I pray for the church. I ask that these attacks would stop, or at the very least, you would just broaden their base to be able to take the hits. And we just ask that with every attack and with every slanderous word that gets brought against Pastor Renee and the church, that you would expand their borders, that you would expand their influence, that you would see more lives being impacted and changed. To me, it just feels like Satan has kind of brought himself right out in the open, and he's just openly attacking because he's desperate. It sounds like a desperate attack from a losing enemy. And so, Father, I just pray that you would bless them, and that more people than ever would come to know Jesus through Zeal Church this next year than all of the years combined in their history.
Come on.
And we just lift this up to you now for the glory of your name. Amen.
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 Thanks, guys.
Thank you
boys.
so much.
Yeah, so good.